Hey, welcome to this Hope to Go. Today we're talking about living for Christ in an unchrist-like culture. You know, we live in a culture that is constantly changing. I love different aspects of our Canadian culture. I love the blending of different histories and traditions of people groups and nations from all over the world here in Canada. And I love the religious freedom of our culture. We are free to worship our God without fear of being killed or jailed because of it. But we live in a culture that is quickly becoming more and more a godless culture dominated by lawlessness, making it difficult to live for Christ in an unchrist-like culture. 1 Timothy 4:1 says it this way: the last days culture, the Spirit clearly says that in the latter times some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Peter, the big fisherman, went on to say, as he addressed the last days culture in 2 Peter 3:3, he said, first of all, you must understand that in the last days scoffers will come, scoffing and following their own evil desires. The previous chapters paint a pretty clear picture of a godless culture living in the last days between Christ's first coming and his second coming. So I want to give you some real hope to go truth to take away to live for Christ in an unchrist-like culture. The big question is, how do I live like that? Let me give you this one. This is how you do it. Kingdom dynamic number one, be prayerful. Acts 3:1 says, now Peter and John went up together to the temple about the hour of prayer. It was the ninth hour, and a certain man lame from his mother's womb was carried there, whom they laid daily at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, to ask for alms from those who entered the temple. Who, seeing Peter and John about to go into the temple, asked for alms, and fixing his eyes on him, John and Peter said, look at us. So he gave them his attention, expecting to receive something from them. Then Peter said, silver and gold we have not, but what I have I give you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. If you want to live for Christ in an unchrist-like culture, you've got to pray. And you need to pray with other Christians. An anonymous author once said, Christ's soldiers fight best on their knees. Notice what happened when Peter and John engaged first century culture God's way. They prayed and God did God's stuff. To live for Christ in an unchrist-like culture, you got to win the battle on your knees. Kingdom dynamic number two, you got to be thoughtful. Listen to what 1 Peter 5:8 says. Be self-controlled and alert. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Be thoughtful. Don't underestimate the agenda of your real opponent. That's why Ephesians 6:10 reminds us to be strong in the power of the Lord and his might, and to put on the whole armor of God. To live for Christ in an unchrist-like culture, you got to remember Revelations 12:11. It reminds us that believing believers, we can overcome Satan the exact same way as the first century church, the same way they did. By the blood of the Lamb, the word of their testimony, not loving their lives so much as to shrink from death. And this is the third thing, be humble. When they saw the courage of Peter and John, they realized they were unschooled, ordinary men, but they took notice. The Sanhedrin, the people that were used to arguing, that they had been with Jesus. You want to whip the devil and live for Christ in an unchrist-like culture? Be humble, because humility comes before honor. And that is your hope to go.